So the city of San Jose just passed an ordinance mandating that gun owners maintain liability insurance and also pay the city a tax simply for owning firearms. In reaction, NAGR has already filed a lawsuit against the city. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think cities like San Jose need to stop infringing on our rights to keep and bear arms, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. Also want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is USCCA. Through your membership, you get training, education, and self-defense and liability protection. So if you carry a firearm, I highly recommend you take a look into USCCA, and I'll put a link to them down in the details section. Also, I want you to know that this content is powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. So head on over to joinfpc.org to help support the Second Amendment cause. Thank you again, Firearms Policy Coalition, for supporting this channel. So like I said in the intro, the city of San Jose just passed a new ordinance last night, which requires gun owners in the city to maintain liability insurance and also to pay a tax to the city simply because they are gun owners. This ordinance is something we have talked about in the past on this channel. We talked about it when it was first introduced, but last night the city actually passed the ordinance. In reaction, NAGR, who had promised to sue the city if they did pass this ordinance, has already filed their complaint. So let's take a look at what this ordinance deals with, and also let's take a look at the lawsuit that NAGR has filed against the city of San Jose. So there are two major things that this ordinance attempts to do. First, it requires gun owners in the city to maintain liability insurance and also for them to pay annual gun harm reduction fees, i.e. a tax, simply because they are gun owners. In section 10.32.10 of the ordinance, it states, "A person who resides in the city and owns or possesses a firearm in the city shall obtain and continuously maintain in full force and effect a homeowner's, renter's, or gun liability insurance policy from an admitted insurer or insurer as defined by the California Insurance Code, specifically covering losses or damages resulting from any negligent or accidental use of the firearm, including but not limited to death, injury, or property damage." This section goes on to state that anyone who owns a firearm on the effective date of the ordinance must obtain the required insurance within 30 days. The second major thing that this ordinance does is that it requires an annual gun harm reduction fee to be paid by these gun owners. Section 20.32.215 of the ordinance states that a person who resides in the city and owns or possesses a firearm in the city shall pay an annual gun harm reduction fee to the designated nonprofit organization each year. So not only will gun owners have to have liability insurance, but then they're going to have to pay this annual fee, and then that money is going to go to an anti-gun organization who is likely going to try to use that money to fund research, to try to pass more laws, whatever they're going to do to infringe even more on our rights. This ordinance also then goes on to exclude law enforcement, of course, like all these laws always do in the state of California. Then it goes on to also exclude CCW holders in the city. But one of the big important things I want to note here is that very few people actually have CCWs, I believe, in San Jose, because I think it's within Santa Clara County. And Santa Clara has had its whole issues regardless because there's been a lot of corruption in issuing CCWs. But I doubt there's going to be a whole lot of people who are going to fall within this CCW exemption. And then another thing they add in there is people of lower socioeconomic like means, or poor people essentially. And for those patriots in the area who are saying, well, screw that, I'm not going to pay. Well, just be aware that under the ordinance, they are also requiring that you submit a proof of the insurance to the law enforcement agency, to the city. And then also you have to have the proof of the tax payment or the fee payment. And then you must maintain that with you anywhere where you store or transport your firearms. If you get caught without these, then you'll be subject to what the ordinance says is administrative citation. You will have to pay some sort of fine. And also the city could attempt to sue you under some sort of civil liability and try to institute some sort of case against you, some sort of civil case. Another thing that the ordinance does is that it creates an impoundment mechanism, where that if you have not met the requirements of this ordinance and you are found in possession of firearms, the city and law enforcement can actually impound or seize your firearms and keep them from you until you actually have some sort of hearing after the fact. So essentially, seizure of your weapons and then due process after the fact. Now, the city of San Jose passed this ordinance last night despite resounding opposition. In reaction, NAGR immediately sued the city of San Jose. So let's take a look at what is alleged in this complaint. First, plaintiffs allege that the ordinance requiring gun owners to purchase insurance and pay an annual fee violates both the Second and the 14th Amendments. In this argument, plaintiffs state that a constitutional right cannot be conditioned upon paying a fee, and that's exactly what is happening here with this ordinance. Both the insurance mandate and the 2 fee requirements in the ordinance impose costs on gun owners in the city of San Jose for them to actually enjoy their Second Amendment rights. Even worse, the ordinance has not established what insurance qualifies, how much insurance you have to have, and they haven't even established all the fees associated with the ordinance. The plaintiffs also allege that this will not only make gun ownership more cost prohibitive in the city, but also it will inherently have a chilling effect on people exercising their Second Amendment rights. NAGR also alleges that the ordinance does not serve its claimed purpose or any other valid purpose. The city of San Jose claims in the ordinance that the purpose of the new rule and of this ordinance is to help reduce so-called gun violence. NAGR states in the complaint, however, requiring gun owners to purchase an insurance policy and pay an annual fee to an unnamed nonprofit are not a reasonable fit to the asserted objective of reducing gun violence, insofar as the violence to be reduced is committed by persons who do not register their guns and use their guns to commit crimes, or the injuries are inflicted by persons other than the gun's owners. They go on to state the city makes no findings other than conclusory statements that the insurance or funding nonprofits will impact gun violence, particularly gun violence by those who lawfully possess and register their firearms, to be kept in the house as opposed to others who possess guns either unlawfully or outside the home. They go on to point out that the ordinance does not in fact control how the chosen nonprofit would spend the city's fees, and specifically forbids the city from directing the spending of its own funds, further undermines the contention that the payment of the fee would achieve the ordinance's claims. So the city has no evidence that mandating insurance and fees on lawful gun owners will reduce so-called gun violence, but also the city through this ordinance is giving money blindly to nonprofits. They are maintaining no control of how it is spent, and really to a lot of us when we hear that, that should be a huge red flag for us. Another interesting argument that is made in the complaint is that the ordinance violated First Amendment rights because it is mandating you pay a fee that will then go towards a nonprofit that you likely actually would never support. That nonprofit will likely push anti-gun objectives that you otherwise would have never funded. The complaint also makes various allegations under California laws, like that this area of law is preempted by state law. This means that California's legislature stated prior that it intended to occupy the entire field of residential handgun possession to the exclusion of other local government entities, i.e. the state of California said when it comes to handgun possession within the home, that is completely within the state's control, that is within the legislator's control, and any city or county that makes a law contradictory to what the state says or even tries to touch on this field is preempted by the state law. Finally, in their complaint, NAGR claims that this is not a fee, but is instead a tax on gun owners. And as such, a tax must be submitted to citizens for a vote. However, that's not what happened here. Instead, this tax was put into effect by the city council, not the voters. With this, of course, the city is claiming that this is not a tax, but it is simply a fee. So this is definitely something that's going to have to be battled out in court. So that's a quick rundown of what is going on with this ordinance that was just passed last night in the city of San Jose, and also the main arguments that were actually outlined in NAGR's recent lawsuit that they filed also, I believe, maybe it was last night or early this morning against the city of San Jose. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel algorithm. It adds fuel to his jet and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough for everybody who's liked, commented, subscribed, who's hit the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me spread the Second Amendment news like this that is going on, and helping bring attention to a lot of these infringements that are going on, like in the city of San Jose. So again, thank you guys for all of your support. If you don't have a comment in mind, just comment down below, just your comment to fuel the algorithm. And also, if you're a new subscriber or a longtime lurker and you recently subscribed, consider subscribing if you haven't, and also comment down below that you're a new subscriber, and I will make sure I comment back to you. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.